Hello guys and girls, and welcome back to another episode of Seb Talks Sports, sponsored by Hoopin and Luton, the place to go to for your favourite new and vintage jerseys and apparel from all things basketball. Today I've got another brilliant guest joining me on Seb Talks Sports, one of Rugby League's greatest talents who's coming off the back of a 2021 season to remember. After captaining St Helens to an historic treble, she became just the third ever recipient of the prestigious Woman of Steel Award as Player of the Year in the Women's Super League. It's the Saint Star herself, Jodie Cunningham. Enjoy. My guest today is one of Rugby League's greatest talents currently playing the game. Fresh off a 2021 calendar year that saw her win the Woman of Steel Award and lead St Helens to an historic treble, it's an absolute pleasure to say she's joining me today. Jodie Cunningham, welcome to Seb Talks Sports. How are you?
Hi Seb, yeah, very, very well, thank you. Good to be on.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining me today.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's always good to talk Rugby League.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. Let's go right back to the very beginning. What are your earliest memories of sport in general, and who was your sporting inspiration growing up?
I loved all sports as a kid. Gymnastics being one of the ones that I loved. Did a lot of gymnastics when I was younger. Netball as well. I've always loved netball, still do. Wish I could play more netball, to be honest, because I really do enjoy that. Football, always in the garden playing football with my dad and my brother. I think my inspiration really, from a particularly sporting perspective, was Olympians in general. I always just wanted to be an Olympian. I didn't really play any Olympic sports, but I just love the idea of representing your country at an Olympics. I just thought they were superhuman. And Kelly Holmes particularly, sort of that era as I was growing up, and particularly seeing her in 2004 when she won the double gold was incredible. So yeah, I'd say Kelly Holmes really from a young age was one of the main ones. And then as I got a bit older, Jessica Ennis-Hill, I used to watch her and just be amazed with what she was able to do, especially for someone who was relatively quite small for a heptathlete, but just incredible. When she turned it on, she was just so competitive and so brilliant across all different sports. I really do think heptathletes are pretty incredible.
Yeah, very, very good athletes there, both of them mentioned. Okay, so after a youth career spent playing rugby throughout your teens, you were then met with a fairly tricky decision, to say the least, during your time in sixth form. You could either do medicine at university and become a doctor, or pursue rugby as a career instead, because at 17, you received a call-up for the England squad while playing for Warrington. So can you describe for us what emotions you were feeling throughout that very difficult decision-making process? And more importantly, do you feel your decision was vindicated when you took to the field and represented your country for the first time?
It was a tricky one because playing women's rugby league isn't professional, and therefore you're making a decision based on what could be a career and something that arguably some people would call a hobby, with you're not being paid to do it, but the commitments around it and obviously the pride that comes with representing your country and playing at the top level is far more than a hobby. I wouldn't in any way class it as a hobby. So yeah, it was difficult. I was just where you fill out all your UCAS forms, which I remember was a long process. Talking to, my tutors at college and seeing what I needed to do and what I should apply for and I had always had my mindset on doing medicine, and then they were like, you cannot keep committing the time that you are to rugby league and do medicine. It won't work for you. So obviously I wanted to see how things would go at England. I didn't know I might have got picked, played one game and never picked again. And that could have been the case. I didn't want that to be the case. I was going to fight to hopefully secure a place, I wanted to be one of the first names on the team sheet and, be a starting player for England. That was the dream. So yeah, I decided that I would do medical sciences instead, which is obviously a shorter course, not as many hours committed in terms of obviously at university time. So yeah, I did that. I went to Leeds University and I was obviously training for England and for my club whilst at university, and I'm glad I made that decision at the time anyway, because everything seemed to coincide at the same time. So the 2013 World Cup, which I was really lucky to get selected for, was literally a couple of weeks after all my final exams, my dissertation, everything at university. So that year and the few months building up was just horrific, trying to commit enough time to training to make sure I was selected in that squad, because I very much wasn't a starting, first choice player at that point. I was fringe of the squad, just trying to push my way into a starting shirt. So by no means could I slack off from a playing or training perspective. And equally at university, you commit a lot of time. It means a lot. I wanted to do the best I could at university as well. So yeah, it was stressful. And there was quite a few emotional times and breakdowns where I just felt like I was half committing to both. I'm a very full-on person. If I'm going to commit to something, I am absolutely 2 foot all in it. And I didn't feel like I could be that with either, which, for me was quite stressful, but managed to get through them both, did well at university and passed my degree and was happy with that. And then managed to get selected and was first choice actually on the wing in that World Cup. But competed in that World Cup, which was incredible. So all in all was a successful year, but was also quite a stressful one way, trying to balance a million things all at once.
Absolutely, yeah. Very, very impressive. Okay, so in 2018, while playing for the Thatto Heath Crusaders, and as Women's Rugby League was undergoing a massive expansion period, obviously Super League was starting up just a year earlier, and 3 additional teams were joining after the first season. So, essentially doubling in size, the league. So your side at the time, Thatto Heath, were purchased by St Helens as one of the sport's most successful franchises, established a women's side, which is great. So as a member of an essentially brand new team that was joining a league nearly doubling in size, just how exciting was that period of your career?
There was a lot of unknowns. I think as players, we didn't really know what it meant to become Women's Super League. It obviously all sounded exciting, and to become part of such a big club with such great heritage and history as St Helens, there was a lot of pride there to be part of that club. But I don't think we realised how big it was going to get. I definitely didn't personally realise how big it was going to get. And, we all sort of came on board, and I think across the whole competition, there was quite it wasn't an easy process, I wouldn't say. Fitting into a club, it was a completely new dynamic. Most of these clubs, other than Bradford and Featherstone, were quite early adopters of having a women's team that was associated fully with the professional club. But for most, it was the first time they'd sort of had a proper women's team associated with a club. So it was finding, where do you fit? It's now a new team. It needs to share facilities and everything else. But St Helens were always really supportive of us as Thatto Heath, because that is a community club in St Helens, and they were always really, really supportive of us when we were Thatto Heath, with the success that we had anyway. So we knew that they were fully behind us. We just had to sort of find our way. And personally for me, I'd snapped my ACL in 2017, didn't have the operation in order to try and rehab and get picked and go to a World Cup. So the World Cup was in November of 2017. Managed to do that. So really, really lucky. Got selected, went to the World Cup. My knee held up, fully strapped. Had a lot of strapping on the knee, a lot of time with the physios. But my knee held up for the World Cup, and last 2 minutes of the semi-final, it gave way. So when I got back, like a couple of weeks after getting back from that World Cup, I had a full ACL reconstruction, which meant I was going to be out of that first Women's Super League season. So for me, that was really tough, because all these exciting things are happening, all these firsts for Women's Rugby League, which I've been part of for so many years and I love so much. All these firsts are happening, all these really exciting things of, I was getting media coverage that we'd never had before, games being streamed that never have before. I felt lost a little bit, because I wasn't really part of that, as much as Saints were brilliant with me, and I can't thank them enough. And I think my love of the club came from the way they supported me through that injury, because I had the operation when I got back from the World Cup, and Saints were only taking over the side at that point. So they could have easily just said, go away, get fit, and, we'll have a look at you when you're ready. But they didn't. They provided me with top class support from their physios to get me back ready. And I actually managed to get some games in that 2018 season, which is really good. Coming back from an ACL reconstruction, to get back in that season was more than I expected. It was the aim, but I always have pretty high aims that I know I'm probably not really going to get there, but I'm going to fight to. I managed to get a couple of games in at the back end of the season, but all thanks to the club for getting me back and getting me back at the right time. It's easy to push and come back too soon if you've not got the right support, whereas when I did come back, I felt fittest, fastest, strongest I had in years. So for me, it was a really difficult season. As much as it was brilliant to see all the progress being made in Women's Rugby League, it was difficult being on the sidelines for it. I was really happy for my team and all the girls playing and fully behind them. But on a personal level, it was tough to take being injured for that first year. So I wanted to make sure that when I did get back, I looked after my body the best I possibly could to make sure, I didn't spend too much more time on the sideline.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I know obviously your family are massive Warrington fans too. So what was their reaction when they found out you'd be wearing a Saints kit rather than a Crusaders one?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing my dad said was that don't expect me to be cheering, "Come on, you Saints." That's never going to happen. Yeah, I think the first game of the 2019 season, so my first full season really, we had Wigan as the opening game, and obviously big Saints Wigan derby. No matter what comp you're playing in, it's always a big game. That, and Wigan had actually beaten us 3 times the season before, so they beat us in every game we played them that season. So we knew we had a big monkey to get off our backs, and also that game meant even more. And it was a really close game. It was a very physical, aggressive game, and we managed to come out on top just, I think, by like 1 try, 2 tries maybe. It was a really close game. And I remember hearing my dad screaming from the sidelines cheering. And I was like, I thought you said you'd never cheer Saints. And he genuinely heard him shout, "Come on, you Saints." So I thought, well, it's not took you too long, has it? But yeah, he obviously he's fully behind me. He's still a mad Warrington fan, as are all my family. But I think they can see the difference between supporting Saints women and supporting the men. You know, I made sure my dad had a big Saints flag for the Challenge Cup and Grand Final. So yeah, definitely come on board. And my grandma now absolutely loves Saints, so she's got her own Grandma Cunningham shirt.
Brilliant.
With a name on the back. I got her that for her birthday last year, and she absolutely loves it. She thinks it makes her famous. So, so yeah, they're fully on board. Still mad Warrington fans. My mum will still shout at me if Saints and Warrington are playing each other. Then my mum goes mad because I won't cheer when Warrington score now. So yeah, she goes mad, saying I need to remember where I'm from.
Brilliant. Okay, over the last half decade or so, the growth of the women's game has been exponential, like we were just touching on. So the Women's Super League, founded in 2017, composed of just 4 teams at the time, but now 5 years later, it's tripled in size with 12 teams competing in the competition. 2019, you said, felt as if the sport had grown more in the last 12 months than it had in the last 12 years, which obviously just talks to how quickly it's grown, which is fantastic. So in your opinion, just how important is it that the league and the sport as a whole continues to grow for players and fans alike?
Yeah, I think the women's competition is massive, not obviously just for the women and girls that play, but I think for rugby league in general. I think it's a massive growth potential for the sport in regards to playing numbers, in regards to funding from Sport England, in regards to commercial interest, broadcast interest. You don't have to look too far to see the growth in women's sport in general, the interest from broadcast, Sky, BBC, Premier Sports, all these paid platforms as well. There's so much interest now in women's sport, and that's where there's opportunities to grow, different markets being involved, different money coming into sport, spectators who might not necessarily have been invested or interested in watching the men's game before could have a route into the sport by watching the women's game or having a daughter that plays. And then, you know, I think rugby league is the most special sport in the world. And if you become engaged in it, you stay in it for life. You do usually fall in love with it. You just need your route in. And, you know, the women's game provides a massive opportunity to do that. And I think people are finally seeing that. You know, I've banged the drum about women and girls rugby league since I first got involved. And to see the growth over the last few years it's just been brilliant to finally see people see the value in it, see what great of a product it is currently, but also how great it can be with added investment and interest. So yeah, I can't speak highly enough for how important I think women and girls rugby league is and how much potential it's got for growth. I think that if you look at what the Rugby League World Cup has done in regards to bringing the 3 tournaments, men's, women's and wheelchair together, and therefore the success, I'm not saying it's solely because of this, but I think a hell of a lot of it is because of having that inclusive element of all 3 tournaments, means that the money they brought in commercially through their partners and sponsors has been more than ever before. And I truly believe that's because of the values that are showcased through rugby league, but the inclusive nature of having all 3 tournaments. That's the opportunity we now have from the sport domestically as well, to go into new markets, new businesses, new commercial partnerships who want to be part of a really inclusive sport, not just men's and women's, but the disability variants, the wheelchair games grow massively, but also learning disability rugby league is fantastic. Physical disability rugby league offers so many opportunities. I don't believe any other contact disability sports of its kind that are available to people. So, you know, we've got lots of USPs as rugby league, women and girls 100% being one, and an area for growth. So yeah, I can't speak highly enough for that.
Do you feel that sort of responsibility as a top level player like yourself, with sort of young girls looking up to you as like that role model kind of thing? Do they idolize you? Do you feel that?
It's hard to say that they idolise you because it's so new to us all. And I can honestly say every single time a parent tweets or a young girl puts something on or buys a shirt with a girl's name on, whatever it is, it genuinely does make our day. Like, it's so new to us, and it's such a brilliant feeling to feel that what we're doing matters and what we're doing does inspire young girls. It's not been the case before, and that's not that there hasn't been hugely inspirational women who are fantastic at rugby league and fantastic people off the pitch. It's just they've not had the ability to showcase that on the level we have been able to, which means that there's been more eyes on us, and therefore more young girls that see us can see the pathway and want to be the next Emily Rudge, the next Carrie Roberts, the next Amy Hardcastle, whoever it is. They're all Saints players. Obviously, I think my teammates are brilliant, and I can see that. I've seen it firsthand, all the young girls who are looking up to those girls week in, week out. But there's that across the sport, and I just think that's so important for us. We need to grow the number of girls playing the game. It has grown exponentially over the last couple of years. It's been immense again this year. Record number of girls teams and girls players registering, and that I genuinely believe is through the exposure provided to the players at the top level, because these young girls now do have role models to look up to, these really visible pathways for them to go through and play for their club, wear that kit, play in that stadium, be part of the club they've loved and supported from being a young age. They can now do that as a girls player, as a women's player, and that possibility wasn't there before. So for me, it's massive. We have a lot of responsibility to make sure we engage with the young fans who are getting involved and make them feel special and make them proud to be part of that pathway and want to go on to be the next big player, which, I'm sure the standard in the next few years is going to keep raising and raising, because we've got so many young girls now playing from a much younger age, which means their skill level is going to be even better than when they get to open age in England international standards. So yeah, it's really exciting, to be honest. It's exciting as a player, and it's exciting for the future of women and girls rugby league.
Fantastic. Looking forward to seeing it continue to grow. Okay, so obviously we've got to touch on that incredible season you just had, because 2021 for Jodie Cunningham was truly like no other. I know a lot of people will know just about the success you've had, but for people that don't, as captain of St Helens, you led the Saints to a 34-6 win of New York Knights in the Challenge Cup final in June, won the League Leaders Shield after thrashing rivals Wigan 52-0 in the final in September, defeated the Rhinos from Leeds 28-0 in the Super League Grand Final in October, and then picked up the incredibly prestigious Women of Steel Award as an individual. So what exactly do those accomplishments mean to you, both as a player and personally, and how did it feel to share those experiences on the field with your teammates?
Sounds pretty good when you say it like that. I have to pinch myself really when I think that we managed to get all that out last year. And I think it felt even more special because we lost 2020 completely with COVID. There was no women's competition across any of the leagues. And we were building to what we thought was a World Cup year last year. Obviously, it should have been World Cup in 2021. So we knew how important 2021 was for us as England players. And as Saints, we'd had a disappointing year in 2019 where we got beat in the last minute of 2 semi-finals. We felt in that year we had a team that was good enough to go and win some trophies, but we didn't do that. So we were disappointed with ourselves in that year. We also hadn't yet won anything for the club of St Helens, which is a club with great tradition of winning a lot of trophies. So, you feel that pressure as well as the women's side, that you need to step up and you need to make sure that you're bringing in success to the club as well. So we had to deal with the hurt of those 2 semi-finals defeat for an extra year, because we worked so hard to make sure that we go into 2020 ready to right those wrongs, lift some trophies, make all the hard work that we did in that pre-season pay off, because we looked brilliant at the start of that 2020 season, or what should have been a 2020 season. We look so fit, so fast. We brought in some brilliant players that were really going to strengthen our squad. And then it didn't happen. We could have easily took the foot off the gas and just thought, well, we'll just wait till we find out when the games will be and we'll wait for next year. But we trained so hard through 2020, gym, field, core skill. Obviously, we couldn't play, but individually, we did lots of training on our own when that was the case. And then once we could get into smaller bubbles, we'd do some core skill work. Then once we could get back as a full team, we did lots of work together. So we felt like we had put so much into what would be 2021 season, and we had so much pressure on us because I think people had us as probably favourites as well, and we had to step up to that. I had so much expectation on our team because I knew how good we were. I'd been there through all the training and hard work they'd done, But to go out and actually do it is a different thing. You know, you see it across all sports. You can have your favourites and they just have off days, or it just doesn't quite work for them. The rub of the green just doesn't go their way. And we just managed, no matter what was thrown at us, we managed to really perform when it mattered. So proud of that team. Individually, to lift a trophy as captain of St Helens is amazing. So to do 3 in one season was incredible. You know, we joked with the lads that we went one better because obviously they did the double. They did Challenge Cup and Grand Final, but just got pipped at league leaders by Catalan Dragons. So technically we went one better. So we do joke about that. But obviously what the men do is incredible. So to be part of that success of 2021 for the club was brilliant. And then obviously you mentioned the individual accolade of Woman of Steel, which I'll be honest, when they brought Woman of Steel in 2018, and so there'd been 2 winners before, 2018 season, 2019, obviously no 2020, and then me in 21. And as soon as they brought it in, obviously I played the game for years. I'm a massive fan of the men's competition of Men's Super League, and see, you know, how much it means to them to win Man of Steel. And so I did have it as like a target. I'd love to, before I retire, win a Woman of Steel award. So to get that last year with all the success we had, just, yeah, it topped off an incredible season. And yeah, I feel like I'm long away from retiring, I hope. Hope I've got many more years left. But if I did, you know, if the worst happened and I had to retire now, I'd retire quite happy with how 2021 went.
Fantastic. But of course, it's not just on the field you've been putting the work in, because off the field, you've been very busy as well. Recently been working as an ambassador for the Rugby League World Cup, which is taking place in England later this year. Obviously meant to be last year, but postponed because of COVID for a year. And you've been undertaking a whole host of responsibilities and playing a role in a number of key programs that have helped continue to grow the sport of women's rugby league, not only here, but across the world. So can you talk us through how exactly that great opportunity came about for you, and any other exciting related events you've got coming up as the tournament draws closer?
Yeah, that all came about quite randomly, really. The injury that I spoke about that kept me out of the 2018 season. So I had my ACL reconstruction, and I was just trying to stay involved in the game whatever way I could. Like I said, it was tough on the sideline. So anything that needed doing, I'd sort of put my hand up for. And I got asked to do a little bit of a talk at an RFL away day. So like basically where they got all their staff together, they review the year and look at the year ahead. And I just got asked to talk about the women's competition, at the Rugby League World Cup in 2017. So I went along, did that, and I was just really lucky. The CEO of the Rugby League World Cup was in the audience, and he came up to me afterwards and asked me whether I would like to be an ambassador for the Rugby League World Cup 21. I hadn't really thought about 21 at that point. Obviously, just got back from the World Cup in 2017. I had my injury to start. So I don't think I really appreciated how big that World Cup was going to be. Obviously, men's, women's in wheelchair together. And he said right from the start how important it was for us to grow the wheelchair and women's interest in the tournament, and also interest in the players and the England team. So yeah, I came on board as an ambassador along with James Simpson, who's the wheelchair ambassador. Did a few different events and ended up coming on board full time. So I did work for the World Cup full time for just short of 3 years, working on their social impact program. So that was incredible. Again, when I look back at the decision to not do medicine, and I genuinely didn't know where I was going with my career after the 2013 World Cup and after I'd finished uni, I didn't know what I wanted to do. All I knew is I just wanted to do rugby league, and my career took a back step. So that was the first time they both complemented each other. And actually I had my career that directly impacted my playing, and my playing directly impacted my career, which was brilliant. So as much as I didn't get paid to play, I definitely did get paid to be part of the sport that I loved. So yeah, worked across their social impact program, working on education, so cross-curricular resources for schools, trying to get more people involved. Obviously got involved at school myself, so that was, you know, really, really passionate area for me. Mental fitness program, so there's a massive mental fitness program associated with the World Cup, which, you know, they were the first major sporting event to have a mental fitness charter. So I delivered on the community element to that. So working with Movember, obviously big global men's charity, and Rugby League Cares as the sports charity, delivering workshops to young people, their coaches, their families, all just around educating them on how to look after their own mental health, but also that of their teammates and the people around them. So again, really important aspect of that, really enjoyed. And then the other sort of main aspect I looked after was the inclusive volunteering program. So getting individuals with learning disabilities, autism, dementia, other care and support needs, getting them involved with volunteering at the tournament. But rather than just tournament time, we did like a massive program working with Community Integrated Care, an amazing social care charity, who basically produced lots of different pre-tournament projects that would grow confidence, skills, experience, so that when they do volunteer at tournament time, they have the best experience possible. So that was just one of the areas I absolutely loved. Working with all the different volunteers and leading on different projects for them was brilliant. And then, more recently moved over to the RFL as a national women and girls manager. It was a really tough choice, I'll be honest. Obviously, the World Cup should have happened, so this would have all tied in place, and I'd have moved across to the RFL after the World Cup had finished. Unfortunately, because of COVID, the World Cup was delayed and is now in October, November 22. But this opportunity was one I couldn't turn down. I've spoke about how passionate I am about the potential of women and girls and how much it's given me as a person. It's, from a whole different range of angles of confidence, skills that you can apply in a workplace, memories for life, the people I've met in the game. I've got so much from rugby league. So to be part of the team who are making opportunities and creating a better structure for more girls and women who are getting involved in the game is something obviously I'm massively passionate about. And finally get a chance to put my money where my mouth is and be part of making that change, which is daunting, terrifying, but absolutely very exciting. And I'm going to put everything into making sure that I do the best job I can for all the women and girls in the game.
Brilliant. Great answer. Great to hear. Okay, just as I do with all of my guests, I'm going to end with some quick fire questions. You ready?
Yes.
Let's do it. Okay, I know it's a classic question, but I thought I'd ask, have you got any of your tournament medals or any awards to hand that you can show my listeners?
Oh, you know what? I don't have the Women of Steel trophy is massive, but I don't actually have that because they're getting it engraved. You know what? I actually had all my medals.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Can you see that?
That's
So basically,
beautiful.
all the 3 medals from the 2021 season and the trophy lift photo under each with a plaque. So I had that made recently, which is definitely something that's going to take pride of place because those 3 medals are very, very special.
Very nice. Okay. Favorite takeaway food?
Oh, it's a little bit boring, but McDonald's. I know that's a boring one, isn't it? But don't actually get to eat it much. But in the off season, I love a McDonald's, to be honest. A Big Mac.
Nice answer. Okay. Dogs or cats?
Oh, that's tough. I've got cats, so I'll have to say cats.
Okay. Favorite music artist?
Wow. Ed Sheeran.
Okay. Favorite sports film?
I'll have to go Coach Carter.
Yes, nice. Okay, as COVID continues to linger, how odd was it playing competitive games without any crowds? What are the main differences you experienced as a player without the fans there?
You know what? You don't get your usually I can hear my dad giving me tips and abuse from the sideline. So that sort of missed. I think it's a little bit different for us. We don't have, the 80,000 capacity fans that the football probably went without. For us, I wouldn't say it was that different until the grand final, and we had fans obviously full. Biggest crowd we've ever had, record-breaking crowd in the grand final. And to hear the cheers and to see the crowd made the event so much more special. So I think that's what the fans added to me. It makes every event that you're part of more special and mean more to you. So I think that's what I miss when they weren't there.
Okay, can you describe how it felt to seal the treble last year in one word for me?
Exhilarating.
Nice. Good choice. Good word. Okay, if you could appear on any game show, what would it be?
Catchphrase. Love it.
Catchphrase, yes. But Steve Mulhern?
Yes.
Okay, you started 2021 as a fullback and transitioned throughout the year to the loose forward position. How key was that position change to your on-field development last year?
Yeah, it was unexpected. If you'd have asked people years ago, or I'd have told people years ago that I'd have been in the forward pack, I don't think they'd have believed you. I'm obviously not the biggest player, but I think I've sort of made it my own position in the sense of I obviously don't play as an extra prop. I play more as a ball playing loose forward, which really works for me. Hats off to the halfbacks in the game. I've done quite a bit of halfback. I wouldn't say it's my strongest position. I find I focus too much on what everyone else is doing rather than, looking up and really playing what I see. So at 13, I feel like I get to be a ball player, but be a little bit more instinctive with it rather than trying to plan and organise everybody else around me, which I do think is a really difficult job to do as a halfback and play eyes up rugby where you're really reading the game as well. So I think it was pivotal to me. I love defending. I've worked really hard on progressing off the field physically. So a lot of gym work, particularly in obviously the 2020 off season that we had to put a little bit more size on. And I think that really benefited me in that transition change from fullback to 13 with the additional defence. But I absolutely love defending. So definitely makes me happy that I can do a lot more tackles in a game now than obviously at fullback it'd be single figures, and if you're getting any higher than that, then your team's probably not played very well.
Yeah, that's true. You mentioned tackles there. Would you rather score a game-winning try or make a game-saving tackle?
Well, a game-saving tackle, I think. Yeah, I do love a game-saving tackle.
Defender at heart, defender at heart. Okay, and finally, do you have any words of advice or motivation for any young girls that want to give rugby league a go for the first time, just like you did at 12?
Just do it. Put all your fears, put all your apprehension to one side. I missed out on a full year of playing because I was too scared to try it. That was at school, so the national skills competition. My school team went on to be finalists, but unfortunately got beat in the final. They had the most amazing time, and I didn't play that year because I was too scared to try rugby league because I didn't think I'd be very good. I played the next year. We got through to the final. We won. I had the most amazing year and fell in love with this sport and found a real talent for something I never anticipated I would. No matter what shape, no matter what size, no matter what your skill set is, there's usually a place for you on a rugby field, and just go and give it a go because it could change your life like it did for me.
Fantastic. Great words there to finish on. Jodie, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on my show. Where can people find you on social media and check out the great work you're doing as an ambassador for the World Cup, as well as anything else you've got going on?
Yeah, Instagram, Jodie Cunningham 91. And oh God, you put me on the spot now for Twitter. I think it's Jodie_Cunny is my Twitter handle. But yeah, please follow me, follow the World Cup and all the great stuff happening there. RLWC 2021 on all the different social media accounts. There's some great things happening at the World Cup, and it will be a game changer for our sport this year. It's in England. It's all across lots of different host towns and cities and venues. So no doubt there'll be a game near you of either men's, women's or wheelchair rugby league. Whichever you watch, you won't be disappointed. So I advise anyone to get a ticket and get down to one of those games.
Absolutely. We cannot wait. I'll make sure to leave all of those links down below so people can find them very easily. Jodie, once again, thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.
Brilliant. Thanks, Seb. Thanks for having me.
That was my interview with the amazing Jodie Cunningham, a trailblazing player who's doing incredible work both on and off the field for the sport of rugby league. Some fantastic stories there that I hope you all enjoyed. Wishing the very best of luck to Jodie and her St Helens teammates for the upcoming season. If you'd like to keep up to date with Jodie, then you can do so across her social media accounts. All the links you need are in the description of this episode. I've got many more great guests coming very soon, so stay tuned right here on Seb Talks Sports. Catch you soon, guys.